Hey, what's going on guys, Khraze here, and I've just finished watching IGN's recent VIP demo livestream. It seems that they had a chance to get exclusive coverage of what we're basically going to see tomorrow and experience, so if you missed any of that, it's about 1 hour long. I'm going to summarize it all for you, fill you in with all of the new things that we have learned and have been talked about or confirmed, as well as a little bit more about how you'll get to experience the VIP demo tomorrow or today depending on your time zone. Before moving on though, the demo will give you access to about 7 hours of gameplay estimate, including 3 story missions, 1 stronghold, free play obviously, leveling from level 10 to 15 and some free coins to spend on the javelin customization among a few other things. So obviously all of this content is repeatable, you can play it the whole weekend, but 7 hours is like an estimate or a general impression of how lengthy it is. You might as well just spend more than that to finish all of the content in the demo. But going over a quick overview of the live stream, the team over at IGN showed a bit over 1 hour of gameplay consisting mostly of story missions, free play, open world events, some Fort Tarsus sections. Meanwhile, one of the producers over at BioWare, who was also present, provided some insight about certain features and answered some of the questions. Some of them you'll most probably be very interested in. So the team members were in the range of level 10 to 12 in the demo, pretty well geared for those levels, and most of the content was done on hard difficulty, which is also the highest you can choose up until level 30 when the Grandmaster tiers start unlocking for you. From the looks of it, it seems that the hard difficulty does indeed feel quite painful, and this is especially obviously with bosses who seem to be the most affected by the difficulty scaling out of all of the NPCs. Like the trash mobs, the time to kill for them is generally not affected too much, you're still going to kill them pretty fast, but in the case of the main bosses or big enemies, there were many times when at least half of the party members got wiped by the huge amount of damage that was thrown at them. So yeah, most notable example had to be during one of the expeditions against something called an elite luminary, which is basically the spider robot tank thingy. It has huge damage, even bigger health pool at higher difficulties, and tons of attacks, some of which have dropped party members from full shield and HP all the way back into the red, and it was really tough to kill that thing. Among this and other fights is when the importance of critical hit spots was made apparent. It seems that as the difficulty scales up and you crank it up, the crit points become even more important. Each enemy has its own weak points that sometimes are quite obvious, like for example the fuel tanks on the back of the enemy Colossus javelins or on their arms. The head areas as well as the joints are also good weak spots, but sometimes they might be harder to find depending on the enemy, so you kind of like position yourself, test things out and see where you're doing yellow damage. Also, carrying out support abilities like the Ranger's Bulwark point to deflect the bullets seems to be of utmost importance. You're going to be under so much fire, you're going to absolutely need that thing to survive, otherwise you're going to pretty much be dropped from 100% to 0 in an instant. CCing the enemy as much as possible and combo detonating it also plays a huge role, especially frost grenades and pretty much everything frost attack related. Anything that can slow down the enemy, including its attacks, or even freezing it for a duration, seems to be very good on high difficulty and actually almost required. I mean, it's so freaking hard, you're almost going to be forced to optimize as much as possible your attack, your rotations, and especially your builds, so you'll definitely see a shift in playstyle as you crank up that difficulty. Enemies also have their own resistances as well as weaknesses, so for example an enemy that uses an acid attack, such as for example an insect type enemy, will most probably have good resistance against acid attacks himself, but he might easily get damaged by frost, electricity or fire in the process, so this is most probably be left for the community to find out, for the players to experiment with. Progression wise, it was confirmed that you should start seeing green and blue level items starting around level 10, and as you get closer and closer to level 30, you'll also see masterwork and even legendary items. Obviously you can still see these types of items dropping even at lower levels, but it's just that the percentages are so low at those levels. On average you're not going to see them until a little bit later. That is why level 10 is an average here. Your average player is going to see these types of items starting to drop around level 10, give or take 2 levels or so. Component slots will will also unlock at various levels, and the first one is unlocked at level 12, then the next one at level 14, 16, 22, 24, and finally level 30, so there are 6 in total. Since additional weapons and javelins is something many people are really looking forward to, it seems BioWare is indeed heavily invested in these ideas. In terms of weapons, specifically melee weapons, because so far each javelin only has one type, it was said during the live stream that there are many types of weapons tested, and the system was made in such a way that it gives the possibility to later down the line add different types of melee weapons. The same goes with additional javelins, by the way, you probably already knew this, but the team is definitely keeping an eye out for the fan suggestions of adding more of these. Oh, and since I spoke about weapons, many of them do have a charge ability, and this is pretty much done by holding the fire button pressed and then releasing it for the full damage. This will typically affect stuff like accuracy, increasing the accuracy or increasing its damage, and I believe we even knew of one of the examples, which is the charge rifle. You can charge it up and release it when it's fully charged for a full explosive damage. It's especially brutal against enemy weak points, but there are many more weapons out there you can test out, and I'm probably going to make a full video on this when we get a full demo and I get to play with all of the weapons. In the meantime, all you need to know is that BioWare is aiming for not just javelins to feel different, but also for the weapons. But one of the things that was said during the live stream is what worries me, and that is in regards to the number of strongholds that will be unlocked in the full game, at least when the game launches, and it seems that once we get to level 30, we'll be able to unlock 3 strongholds in total, which kinda semi-confirms that at launch Anthem is only going to have 3 strongholds available, and this kinda worries me a little bit. I was hoping that there's going to be more. I was also hoping for a raid feature to be added in the meantime, but it seems that we might not get that at first. It might take a few weeks, maybe months, hopefully not too long, because at some point all content gets stale and I really don't want to see that from Anthem. 3 strongholds in the beginning weeks I think is enough, because you're going to want to repeat them a lot, also do open world events and all of that. That will keep us occupied for a little bit, but 3 strongholds, I hope it was a miscommunication or something. Outside of this, there's also a few more cool open world details being shown in the live stream. First, the game does support a day and night cycle, and all of you guys are still asking this question, but yeah, it naturally goes on and is in sync across all servers, so no matter in what region you are, you're going to always see the same in-game hour of the day and the same weather, as it's pretty much in sync. Weather effects seem to also influence more than just your javelin's jet heat levels. They also seem to affect the enemy spawns, world events, as well as loot chests that might get accessible depending on the weather type. While outside in the world, you will also encounter enemy patrols, random creatures, as well as the random events, as you know, and these random events usually prompt your Arcanist to mention them and give you pointers to the first objective. So yeah, if you miss them, if you don't notice them immediately on the screen, you're most probably going to hear your Arcanist telling you about them, as well as seeing some pointers on the screen. At the end of these events, you'll also get rewarded with a loot chest that typically contains amber as well as some items, and most importantly, the amber is going to heavily be used at crafting. So yeah, it's one of the things that is going to be used the most in crafting. To exit an expedition, by the way, all you need to do, in case you didn't know this already, is enter the map and then press and hold the F button on your keyboard or the equivalent action button on your controller, and it will pretty much make you exit that and go back to Fort Tarsis, or in the case of the full game, to the launch bay if you decide that. Towards the end of the stream is also when we get a chance to see how unlocking a new javelin looks like. We already kinda had a glimpse of this in one trailer we had last week, but yeah, it's pretty simple. You walk to the forge, open up the menu, pick whichever javelin you want. You can see the number of javelins you can unlock by checking the number of entries left on the left bottom corner of your screen. There's also a small little dialogue coming with it upon unlocking, so it's pretty pretty cool. And one final point I want to make before ending this video is that look forward for the next beta weekend as well, specifically because according to BioWare there's going to be some surprises in that, so I'm not really sure what that is. It might be additional content, possibly some new announcements, hopefully it's both of these, but yeah, I'm really curious to see what these surprises are. In any case, you're going to definitely be able to pick things off from this first demo and carry it over into the next one. And that is pretty much it with today's video, everybody. One quick announcement I want to make before ending the video is that I'll be starting a giveaway for a full copy of Anthem, and I'll be running this until the 22nd or the 21st next month when the game fully launches. So if you want to join in, then go ahead and take a look at the pinned post in the comment section. It's going to be the first post in there. Follow the link in it. It's going to contain all of the rules and all you need to know to take part in it. And in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, obviously a like and a subscribe would be super appreciated, and I will see you guys later, so peace out.